Right, today we're going to familiarize ourselves with the ruler settings. Um, we'll zoom out here so you can see this is an intake pulse capture at idle. The green line is our trigger, and this is a WaveSpark system, so you can actually see the low and the high. It'll sync off the high, and I'll demonstrate that in another video when we're taking captures, but today it's all about analysis. We're going to see how much we can learn about this capture as we go using the ruler. So first things first, how do we get the ruler up? There's a few different ways to do this, uh, and the way I demonstrate everything during this video is the easiest, most efficient way for me to do it. Um, a lot of this program has several ways to do almost everything. So I encourage you to try to figure out the other ways to do it than what I demonstrate, and maybe there's an easier way for you. But excuse me. But this is the easiest way for me to manipulate and navigate the program. So I just want to demonstrate that as we go. There, all the things I do are just the way I'm doing it. That doesn't mean it's the right way or the best way. So you can go into the workspace area, go to the ruler, and pull it up based on what type of measurement you took. These are the pressure transducers here in the top 3, 4, and then this is the pulse sensor, and then this is a crankshaft waveform. So I've messed with these. I don't particularly like using them, but give it a shot if you want to try it that way, see what you think. But I'm going to demonstrate how I've used this and how I like it. So the ruler button up here in the top toolbar, you just click on it, the ruler appears, and right away it's pretty basic. You've got your measurements across the top here that gives you your markers in degrees, and you can see that here, degrees based on the ruler. If I move the markers, you can see that changes there. But and that's cool and super useful if you want to get kind of a rough idea. So you can move this, which is a little tedious, back and forth to your number one full 720 rotation, and then you could zoom in and you could reset your markers, and say you wanted to measure from the ignition start point to the next vacuum point here. You could do that and then get your measurements up here. It shows each measurement in degrees and then the delta between the two. And then you can actually, so if you want to see these numbers bigger, you can move them up and down. But what isn't here by default, if you go here, you go under ruler options, you go down to average engine speed, and then it'll display your RPMs based on your ruler settings. So you see if you move that, the RPMs change, but it'll calculate the RPMs if you have it set up right. Well, it's pretty tedious to move this around, so I'm going to show you something that really makes it pretty easy to deal with. So you right click on the ruler and go back down to ruler options, or no, you go down to ruler auto settings. So go down here to where it says ruler auto settings, and then you go down to IFC, which is your sync, and click it, and it automatically zooms in and sets everything up. And then you notice you have a lock here, and then a back and forth button. So it'll actually take you between events back and forth, which is super awesome. That I'm really impressed with that feature. It's pretty sweet. The lock, I'm not quite sure what it does, but I haven't really noticed a difference using it. So I'm not sure. And you can see it's not absolutely perfect. So you do have to pay attention because sometimes it'll miss like that. So so you kind of want to pay attention to that. You notice our RPMs dropped from 742. Oh, now it's, there you go, to 374. So we know it's just not being accurate. So things to pay attention to. But otherwise, the autofocus feature is pretty cool, and that's under, again, it's under ruler auto settings, and then it'll do maximum peaks, min max averaging, several different settings like the you can tell it that you're just using the vacuum sensor, and it'll try to find a match that way. Actually, this way ends up kind of weird. It's like you're looking for only one cylinder, so it'll not always line you up really nice. But I notice my favorite way to use it is. Oh, that's right. Out. There you go. So if you're zoomed in too far, it struggles to find the sync. So you want to make sure you zoom out a little bit. So there's 2 or 3 events on the screen, and then it'll locate itself. And again, these move back and forth. So you can lay those out to get any measurement you want, even way outside. And so like I said, even if you want to zoom out a little bit and put markers over here, you'll still get your measurements above the ruler. So there's quite a few ways to do that, and then you can just click to the next spot and it'll zoom all back in for you with the autofocus feature, which is pretty sweet for the auto setting. The next thing I want to cover is the working phases, which I was pretty excited about when I came across that. So you go up to the ruler, right click on it, go down to working phases, turn it on, and you see one cylinder working phase across here. And before you go too far here, what you want to do is either build a vehicle or make sure you have the correct firing order in the vehicle setting here on the top toolbar. The one above the upper right hand corner does correlate to some of the analysis tests and everything, so it's always good to have these matching if you can, because I'm not 100% sure. I could make a list of the differences between the two, because certain things reference the vehicle in the upper toolbar and other things reference the vehicle in the upper right hand corner. So it's best to, if you don't know what's going on, leave it blank or punch in all the information you can in all the spots you can, and it'll get you the best. That way you're just not wasting time trying to figure out what is or isn't applicable doing. So in this case, I know it's this one that does it. So I already have this vehicle pre-programmed in here. So we're going to click on that. So we know now we have it set up with our firing order. I'm going to right click this, go to ruler options, and then click on all cylinders. And there we have our overlay. We can make that quite a bit bigger. We can actually anchor the position so we can't move it. But when we unanchor it and move it, you can see that it syncs with the ruler no matter what. So you can see the compression stroke isn't moving, the intake stroke isn't moving, it's just moving the overlay around. And what's pretty cool is we can actually grab this and then just stretch it out. We could zoom out some more, and we can just really go crazy with it. We bring it down here where we can see it, take it all the way over here, stretch it all the way out. We can go back up to our ruler, hit the next pulse, it zooms us in, and then we can just keep going, and we have just an awesome overlay. If you want it to be more or less transparent, it's the up and down arrows, or you can use this menu here with a right click. But if you just left click on it and then hit the down arrow, it gets less transparent, and the up arrow makes it more transparent. So you can change that like that. There's you can just close it. You can have it so it displays your top dead center line here. You can see it. You take it away, and that's for each cylinder. It'll show the top dead center line. And then if you notice, this yellow mark is actually your ignition event. You can see how that lines up with the IFC or the sync pulse down here. So that's your ignition event. Again, if you move this back and forth, you can move your top dead center. You can move your valves. Well, you can't move your top dead center. You can move your valves around. There's actually a ruler settings menu here where you can manually punch in your valve angles, which is pretty sweet. You can actually change your ruler, like say you're working on a 2-stroke engine and you want the ruler to be a 360. You can change that. You can get rid of all your valve angle lines if you don't want to see those. You can change it to current speed, and it'll give you current speed per event. And I believe, so it'll show that across the bottom of the ruler. And you can actually do that at the ruler options as well here with immediate engine speed and average engine speed. And you can see, so there's quite a few settings you can mess with and change. So there's a lot to do, a lot you can do here, but this is by far the best thing, in my opinion, is just the ability to have the overlay built right into the program. It's adjustable, movable. You can even, put it out of your way, or you can just, get rid of it altogether. You can turn it back on like that, and it will snap up here, but then it blocks your RPM. So, and you can snap it above the ruler too. So if you want to bring your ruler down, then you block the IFC. So you just got to watch what you're doing there. But yeah, so I think that's a really handy. I don't know of any other scope that has the overlay built right into it. So I think that's a pretty cool tool. The ruler is definitely pretty handy. We've learned a lot about this already, as far as if we have our ignition timing and everything set up correctly, you can see that the ruler automatically lines up with 24 degrees off our ignition event. Like, this is a really sophisticated program. I think it's pretty awesome. So you can see how that works, how we can manipulate that, how we can actually zoom way out and then just drag our phases all the way across our whole recording. And then just if you were just taking like quick analysis and you wanted to take a look, you could just dive in quick, or you could go right to your ruler and then look at each event as you go. So this is an awesome tool for analysis. We could learn a lot about this quickly. We can even use our ruler as a straight edge, which is nice if we wanted to do that. Say we wanted to measure these humps and the inconsistency of the humps across events. We could just click on it and then measure them like that. We can add an additional line and move that up there and then move it across events. Get kind of a rough idea. So there, or we could even just use the phase box itself as a straight edge and then see what happens across events. So there's a lot of different ways to use this for analysis. It's such an awesome tool. There's even more yet. So like I said, there's a lot that comes with this ruler. It really it's a really useful analysis tool. So you can see how much we've seen how this works. So we know it's a 6-cylinder. This is our full phase. we can measure the degrees. We can measure our intake valve or all of our valve openings across all of the full firing order and the full phase of events. And we can zoom that way out. So, if we want to see what's happening, just a little bit past the ruler, it's not a big deal and not a pain in the butt to move everything around. So, this is really user friendly. Once you kind of get used to the controls, you can always just add in rulers. Like if you wanted to measure degrees from phase to phase, or say I wanted to see how many degrees in drop here from a intake valve opening event. So we can look at that through the pull and see, well, we have 78 degrees of, negative pull or less pressure in the intake. So there's a whole lot we can do with this really quickly to be able to use this in a bay, on a car, analyze it quickly, save the file quickly, and then move on with our life. But say we want to set this up for, to do a case study or make a demonstration out of it. We can actually go up to the ruler again, right click on it, go to control points, and these are a pretty neat option. So you can actually add points along your graph, and then you can put comments in there to display on the points. It'll show you your absolute angle, your relative angle, the comments you put in there. You can get your vertical axis value put on there. You can even change the color of the points if you wanted. And there's a whole bunch of, so this is a pretty awesome tool, and I want to demonstrate that pretty quickly too. So you just double click to get a control point out, and you can see the absolute angle is the angle on the ruler. So you can see the first angle is your absolute angle. The second angle is your relative angle, relative to either top dead center or bottom dead center, which you have to pay attention because as you get past your 60-degree mark, it changes. I just wanted to demonstrate that so you guys understand what's going on there. So, and it's 60 degrees because this is a 6-cylinder. So I just want that to be clear. And then you can actually see your vertical, so you can see your amplitude in the final step. But say we want to we're going to right click on this. We can change all of those displayed values if we want. We can change our color here. So say we want to make it green, and we want to add the remarks of, something useful. And now we have our green dot, and we can move that. And now we put it up here. We can't see what we want, right? So we're just going to go back in here and change our placement to bottom right. And then that'll move that down to the other end of the control point. And now we can see it again. If I want to get rid of this control point, I'm just going to click on it, double tap, and it's gone. And now we're back with a different one. So, there's a whole lot you could do with the control points. Now, the one downside I found is the ruler, the overlay, and the control points don't show up when you just try to save a bitmap out of your full selected file. So, like if, say I have, a bunch of control points here, and I want to save this, if I right-click on it, save whole screen, save as bitmap, like I would want to save an image, it's only going to show the waveforms. All this other stuff isn't going to be here. But if I want to use this in a presentation, I need to be able to do this. So my screenshot cuts off in a weird way, and I haven't tried it on another computer, but I assume yours will do the same thing. So I'm going to demonstrate to you how I make a nice screenshot out of this. So I zoomed out a little bit, and you can see I'm only covering about the left 2/3 of the graph screen. So now if you go to options, you can see where there's a save actual window image, which is control print screen. You can either click that like that, or I can actually hit just control print screen and it'll save it. It doesn't tell you it saves it, but it saves it, and then that will be in your screen folder in your MT Pro folder with the other files for the program. And you can see that it doesn't take the whole screen. So you have to account for it's cutting off about 20 to 30% of the screen. Then you can get a clue by looking in the upper right hand corner, and you can see that it's cutting my ruler off here just below my firing order screen here. So you can see it's cutting it off over here somewhere. So what I've been doing to make use of that is opening that image up, and then the normal Microsoft image will let you just crop it. So to make this, presentation ready, I can just come in here and crop it out. I like to, get a good view of it, but then you can come in here and just crop out the rest of your screen really quickly. And once you have something you want to use, I like to make it a standard image like that, and then you can save it. You can see how that looks compared to the other one. So that's what I've been doing to make these presentable. And you can, then you see everything on the screen, so you can change, everything you want. I could take away this box if I wanted, so it's a really nice presentation tool. I'm looking forward to writing up some case studies with this. But, and the cool thing is, like, the control points, the overlay, everything. Say I want to go take another capture now, and all this stuff's in my way. First, I'm going to hit Control-Shift-M, get rid of my markers, and then I'm going to click on my ruler, and everything's gone. I can click on my ruler, everything comes back except for the control points. The control points, once you get rid of them, they're gone. But the fact that you can add comments right to your right to the file and then take a screenshot is pretty awesome. So, you can just anything you want. You can just add it in. So then you can pick it out. Like in this case, I know the number 3 is the weak cylinder here because this is at idle and we actually have an injector disconnected. So I could put this on my number 3 intake stroke at the middle of the intake stroke, and that gives me a good idea this is more than likely my intake stroke for number 3. And then if I go back, set this up. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot. That's the only downside is I was hoping you could type in like weak cylinder and then go to the next file or the next spot in the file and have it follow you. It doesn't, but the markers will. So, there's, like I said, there's 100 ways to do everything in this program. So there's, that's what I found is the most efficient. It works really quick for analysis. I'll probably do another video sometime doing some in-cylinder analysis, but, then we could use our exhaust valve opening and closing events a little better. But, you could still use them here and get a good idea of what's going on with that intake capture. If you take all of your measurements carefully and know where your ignition timing is at idle and know where your valve opening and closing events are supposed to be and punch them into the ruler, you can get a really, really accurate representation of what is going on. And you can have, you can go into your ruler options here. You can have just your intake and exhaust valves. You can have just the openings, just the closings. So you can really custom tailor this this to exactly what you want to see. You can even have it so it shades your overlap. That was in here. There you go. So it shades your valve overlap, so that it gives you a good idea of what you're seeing when, because the overlap can be misinterpreted pretty easily. So, but you can see it's going to be as accurate as you are. So if you have your vehicle data punched in properly and you've taken your measurements properly, you can really get a good idea of exactly what's happening inside that engine using intake pulse or in cylinder, and really get it dialed in, and you can make a really comprehensive picture for a customer or for a class. I present stuff like this to customers. I think this is pretty awesome, especially if you're telling them you have a bad engine or a mechanical issue with an engine. This is a really useful way to demonstrate it. So I believe that's all we're going to cover in this one. The overlay just has me absolutely blown away. It's so awesome to be able to have this and manipulate it and stretch it through your whole file. So I'm going to be using the heck out of this to document all sorts of stuff. This is really good presentation material for customers or for case studies or for classes. So, there's a whole lot of value here in just the ruler setting. And I mean, I'm sure if you've watched the other videos, you can tell how impressed I am with this. I use other oscilloscopes that are as nice and way, way more expensive. So this thing is just awesome not only for the money, just in general. This tool is built for guys that are using it in the field every day. Once you get a good grasp on how to use it, you can run through an analysis in a bay in minutes instead of sitting down and really having to dig into it. You can have all this laid out in a few seconds and have a good idea of what you're looking at. So I hope you get some value out of this. Thanks for watching. Get out there, do some playing, and see what you can figure out. Maybe you can show me something I missed.